have a question from a physical retreatant, Boon from Malaysia. So, dear Longpo Anan, after a meditator has attained a state of calm for an hour or more during the Anapanasati meditation, what should he or she do next in the meditation?
In the practice of Anapanasati, if you're able to meditate and practice with it for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour or more, then that is good. The thoughts should reduce and the peace in the mind should grow. There's feelings or states of rapture and bliss arising. And so then you should keep doing it so that you're more skilled and more proficient at it, and being able to have that state for a longer period of time, and you keep practicing it often. And then when you're able to gain a level of peace, it's natural that then the peace will decline. And then that's when the mind, or you should train the mind to develop wisdom. So you have that peace or that samadhi, or it is a peace in samadhi or concentration, and that is the type that pushes down the mental defilements in the same way that a rock will push down the grass that it's lying on. And so then you can develop wisdom through contemplation, and whether you watch the feelings or the thoughts that arise and being able to see it as conventions or in conventional reality, and being not self, or you can contemplate into the body, the breath, seeing it just arise, stay for a little while and then leave, or contemplating the body so that there's knowing and wisdom arising, seeing that the body is impermanent and not a self.
So the next question is from an anonymous physical retreatant. Dear Ajahn, on the 30th, on Monday, one of the questions was about difficulty in meditating when one is sick. Can you guide us through how we can meditate and contemplate when we are in a lot of pain? For example, a headache? Do we keep saying the mantra Bhutto and ignore the pain? Or do we focus on the pain? Thank you.
And so this is about vedana, or feelings, or specifically painful feelings or aches and pains. And so the first way is that if you're skilled in meditating with the breath and or the word Bhutto, then you're able to make the mind peaceful to a certain level. Then you can know the pain that has arisen. It won't be to the point that the pain disappears, because the mind isn't yet to that state of peace. You can't go beyond that, but you can still feel the vedana, the feelings there still. But with or from that peace that you've developed, you can then watch the pain, and you may then ask yourself, what is vedana? What is it, the feeling or feeling tone? How does it arise, this vedana? How does it cease, this vedana? And so at sometimes then you're able to then contemplate into it. That's when, and if the mind has strength, then you're able to separate out the mind from that vedana, from the feelings. And it can be sometimes to the point where the vedana will disappear altogether. And one may just know that vedana isn't self. It's not really me or mine. And that's when the mind has that knowing into vedana. And so that's when the mind can separate out the mind, the citta, from the Vedana. And that's the first way. The second way is that one uses wisdom, the quality of wisdom first. So using, even though you may have just a little bit of samadhi or concentration, you just use the mind to contemplate into the Vedana, and you just focus on that Vedana, contemplate it, that, oh, before this Vedana arose, it wasn't there, but now it is here. And so that shows that it's not lasting or permanent. And by contemplating in the right way, one may have samadhi, concentration, arise, and then be able to understand into Vedana and separate it out from the mind. And so this is, if one is skilled in this contemplation or investigation, then you should do that way. But if one is skilled more at making the mind peaceful first and then contemplating after, then you can do that way. So both ways are okay.
So the next question is from an anonymous physical retreatant. Dear Ajahn, thank you for taking the time to share the Dhamma. I would like to know, what is the meaning of our dreams? Often I have bad dreams about unwholesome activities despite holding 5 precepts in my daily life. Do we also have bad karma from the things we do in our dreams? Does knowing and unpacking our dreams help in our practice? Thank you, Ajahn.
So the important part of the question is that, is through the dream or a bad dream, is it breaking sila or not breaking your precepts? So the sila is in the actions and speech, and it's in specifically in the intentions, or cetana. And so in the dream, one is unable to control that. And so there isn't that cetana or intention there. And so the dream or bad dream may arise through many different causes. And so what happens in that dream isn't karma. And one can try to instead look for why, or what is the reason this is coming up. Is it because one lacks metta, loving kindness? For example, maybe in one's daily life, one has a tendency maybe to have ill will to others, or maybe some harmful thoughts. Does that arise often? Is there a lack of metta in the mind? And so these types of feelings can affect one's dreams, or have bad dreams over that. And so one of the resulting good virtues of having metta is that one sleeps at ease or happily. And so one can try then to develop metta more, and try not to have stress and anxiety so much when one sleeps, or before when one sleeps. Otherwise, one may have also not just dreams, but maybe just awaken suddenly, things like that. And so one should try to develop more metta and compassion. Or one can also do the chant to spread metta. And whether one has good dreams or bad dreams, one can do the chant specifically for maybe making the determination that by the power of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, may all these dreams or all bad things disappear. And so one can also contemplate into the thing in the dream as well, but doing so in a way that it brings up wisdom. It doesn't put one's mind down to a lower state. And so one should have develop more mindfulness with it and have more metta, and then the dreams will gradually get better and better.
So the next question is from a physical retreatant, Wei Wen. Dear Long Po, thank you for your compassion to teach. Please, could you explain the difference between one who is established on the Sotapanna path versus one who hopes to be a Sotapanna but is not yet on the path? Thank you.
We first understand that Magga is Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, virtue, morality, concentration, and wisdom. And so the individual who aspires to attain to Sotapanna, then they put in effort, they're determined to practice the Dhamma, they practice dana, sila, bhavana, and they develop themselves and contemplate into anicca, dukkha, anatta, and see it more and more. And in the beginning, they have some samadhi, maybe just a little bit, and some wisdom sometimes. And that is we call walking on the path of Sotapanna or Sota Pattimagga. And so it may be just the beginning stages of that. Maybe there's still very little samadhi, very little wisdom, but it is one who's traveling, walking on that path to Nibbana bit by bit. And so they have begun that journey or the path already, and they keep doing it, keep putting in their efforts and keep building their paramitas, their spiritual qualities. And then the sila, the samadhi, the panya gets more energy, more momentum, grows more firm. This is when the magga, the path, is starting to begin or to grow. And so there is that firmness or more firmness of that path. And so what begun as just a very small amount of samadhi, it grows and increases. And then later the samadhi may be able to get to the point where it can be still, completely still or peaceful or calm to that level. One's qualities are growing firmer and to another higher level. And one's contemplation, the wisdom coming from that, one is beginning to understand more clearly. What one can contemplate into the body and see it as being not beautiful, unattractive. And from that contemplation of that body, then one gains rapture, feelings of great fullness in the heart. One can contemplate the body in terms of the four great elements, and there's understanding that's arising, and there's also happiness that arises with that understanding. One can see those four elements and break that down, break it apart until it becomes empty. And so this is an example of the contemplation and the insight and happiness that arises from that. And this is called walking the path of sila, samadhi, and panya, or walking the path of Sota Pattimagga. And so one keeps practicing then in this way until one becomes skilled and proficient in it. So in the space of one day, one may contemplate in this way, like maybe for some, they can do it many times a day, or for others, maybe just once a day. But they're able to get their contemplation and contemplate until they can, it's emptiness. And this understanding is the path to see the Dhamma. And so one's walking this path until the magga, the path is getting more firm, more consolidated, and it's becoming closer and closer to gathering together, all the qualities gathering together, until there arises a point where there's knowing arises, true knowing or clear knowing, and that is what we call seeing the Dhamma. And then this is when the Sota Pattimagga changes into being Sota Patippala, which is the fruit of Sotapanna. And so that arose from the path of walking that path of Sotapanna bit by bit from the beginning. And so it differs in this way.
So we have a question from a physical retreatant, Cheryl. Dear Longpo, are there karma for thoughts or only speech and actions?
So the karma is made by way of mind, by way of speech and actions. And so the mind sends the signal to the brain, and that is then comes as thoughts, whether good or bad, and there is sending from the brain to one's speech and actions. And so that is the thoughts, good or bad, are also kamma made by way of mind. And one has to then be careful of this type of kamma coming from thoughts. And so if bad thoughts arise, then one tries to let that go. If they haven't arisen, one tries not to let it arise. If there are good thoughts arising, then one can practice following it, and one tries to maintain those good thoughts or the mind states of wholesomeness in the mind. And so one practices developing meditation, developing one's mindfulness, and this is so that one can keep the mind or look over the mind and keep it in a state of a wholesome, skillful object. And so one develops and practices dana, sila, one develops and practices merit until one's able to increase the level of the mind and make it more and more pure, more and more purified. And then so one should develop mindfulness and wisdom in order to look over the mind a lot.